And that led me to question just one victim in particular, a woman called Maria Farmer, who claims to have been molested by Epstein and Maxwell when she was about 23, 24.
Bit old for Epstein.
Yeah. He said that, you know, if they were 18, they were too old for him. So, I mean, he was a sadistic preferential pedophile. He's not interested in older women. But also, you know, I had met Maria Farmer separately. I thought she was a hero. I thought she was one of the best things ever. I listened to all her stories and I believed everything she said. And when cracks started to appear in this, and so I had to investigate. And that led me to finding a few different things. There was a few people already who had been, I would say, victimized by Maria Farmer, who had been targeted by Maria Farmer, who had come to me already and said, I've had this experience. I've got all of these different stories I can tell you. And I basically, we set up a kind of like a surviving Maria Farmer group, because she was being very abusive to a wide range of people openly. So it's hard for her to deny this. You know, all the evidence is out there, many tweets.
And she was claimed to be a victim of Epstein and was at the forefront of victims claiming against the Epstein and Maxwell.
Her affidavit, the first affidavit she entered about her experience with Epstein, the molestation, and working for Epstein on the door and letting in Alan Dershowitz to the New York buildings that Epstein had, that happened in 2019. So that was just before, I think it was about April, and that was like a few months before Epstein would be arrested in 2019. It was very late in the game, but there's a whole backstory that's very complicated. I don't really want to go into, but what it led me to realize that in 2017, 18, 19, Maria Farmer was listed as working for this antitrust fraud company alongside a guy called John Stanley Pottinger, and some other very high up legal people, and it didn't make any sense. It was before she's entered in her affidavit. She's claiming she's working with the legal team. Pottinger is the legal representative along with Edwards for a load of the Epstein victims. So she's working with him before, and then I started to see messages from before where she's basically having a relationship with Stanley Pottinger. And so I was like, who's Stanley Pottinger? Who is J. Stanley Pottinger? He makes no sense. And in investigating him, I discovered a completely like an alternative American history. It rewrote American history in following the line of this person isn't telling the truth. I don't trust her. She's attacking me. What's going on? Investigate. And most people, what they do in the world, and this is where a lot of, for people who are investigating, that you can get angry with the person, the initial person. Everybody would say automatically, I should investigate Maria Farmer then and write an article about her. And then you tit for tat, going backwards and forwards with someone who's probably like partial construct in the way she's acting, in her behavior at least, the outward behavior. But who's these other people behind her? Who's these people she connected? And J. Stanley Pottinger is one of the most important people in American history.
So he was the legal representative for a group of Epstein victims. He was leading that case.
Yeah, he approached Bradley Edwards, who's the main guy. Edwards Pottinger was the firm that represented people like Virginia Giuffre and others.
Who's the one who accused Prince Andrew?
Yeah. Pottinger approached Edwards in 2014 and was like, hey, you just after Virginia Giuffre had come back to America after being interviewed in 2013, late for 2013 by the FBI in Australia. She come back to America to fight for justice, and she meets up with Bradley Edwards. And the day she meets up with Bradley Edwards, in the nighttime, he gets a phone call from J. Stanley Pottinger who's saying, hi, you might not know who I am, but I'm J. Stanley Pottinger, and I was this, that, the other, Department of Justice. I was all of these different things, and I can help you out with this Epstein thing. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want you to take the lead. And soon they created Edwards Pottinger law firm, and Pottinger So who is he? Who is he? Who is he?
International man of mystery.
Wonderfully interesting. I went all the way back to his father first, John Pottinger Sr. I think John Paul Pottinger, I think his name is. He ran John Pottinger Insurance Company in Dayton, Ohio, and was a city commissioner in Dayton, Ohio. He was actually, the interesting fact, the fourth city commissioner in a row to die while in office in Dayton, Ohio. So city commissioners it was a dangerous job, obviously, to be in. It must have been a dangerous job. He was Bohemian Grove. He was 32nd or 33rd degree Mason because he was Scottish Rites. He was really big on the scene. He was involved in every club, and he had 3 sons, and 2 of them, J. Stanley Pottinger and David Forbes Pottinger, extremely interesting people. Of course, J. Stanley Pottinger is a little bit younger than his older brother, David Forbes Pottinger. And David Forbes Pottinger, I mean, when I was writing I go back, I discovered about, his dad's this interesting guy who's linked with all of these famous clubs and etc. Let's go a little bit forward. His brother. What happens to his brother? 1962, his brother goes missing. And they find only a shoe and a T-shirt and a few beer cans outside his car. What's going on? Oh, my God. And then he gets found in a ditch with amnesia. And none of it made any sense. He had a run-off with the 17-year-old babysitter, Sherry Vandervile, who had gone missing 4 days afterwards as well. He had taken her to trafficked her across state lines, child trafficking. Stanley Pottinger's brother took her on a ship, if you know what I mean, a euphemism there, around Hawaii. And they spent, 6 weeks sailing about before they ran out of most of the money. He sold the ship, and then they went back. He pretended that he got beaten up and found in a ditch, and she came back a little bit later. He was arrested, of course, and then he was given like a slap on the wrist, seemed a little bit protected. So it was a really interesting time. By this time, their father had already died. Their father died in 1958 when John Stanley Pottinger had gone to started going to Harvard University. And Harvard University during this period is one of the most interesting places you can possibly be. If you're a young man who's extremely talented, they will find you the thing you're going to do in the future. They will fit that in. This is a time of Brzezinski. This is a time of Henry Kissinger, running Henry Kissinger's international seminar, training up people like Klaus Schwab eventually, and all these young leaders were all being brought out.
Groomed.
Yeah, groomed through Harvard programs and projects.